We got a ton of respect for this opponent. Really good team, really well-coached team. Divisional game. There's really not much else that needs to be said other than can we go out and prove it for 3.5 hours on Sunday once again.
Let me guess, border battle. How many times have we heard?
It is a border battle.
Border battle over.
Border battle.
Over and over again, and I think it might be coming one more time. Enough Said is the name of the program. My name's Dan Barreiro, joined as always by Justin Gaard. And to start uttering those, border battle cliches.
We like alliteration here.
I love border battle.
It's Lori Fisher.
The Vikings are still undefeated. Yay, 3-0.
Hold on, how about this? Northern Division collision. It's a Northern Division
That's kind of an
collision.
old school
You just
one,
got to
yeah.
make sure
It
you
is.
spell collision right. I feel like that could be.
Not if you say
What
it.
do you like better, alliteration or rhyme?
They're both
That's the
great.
question.
I like alliteration.
It's a
better.
border battle and a Northern Division collision.
Nice. They beat the 49ers last weekend, as we know. Quarterback Sam Darnold, though, nearly gave us a heart attack when former Viking Daniil Hunter took him down. Luckily, it was just a knee bruise. The Vikings, border battle, play the Packers in Green Bay this Sunday, Dan.
Well, we've already advanced. What are we, 3 games in?
Yes.
Because Sunday will be the border battle will be game 4. We're already to the prove it phase, and it's not all that surprising that already what we're hearing nationally, and maybe even a little fair, and this is fair, I think locally, is, well, is this the real Sam Darnold? I mean, has he really figured it out to the degree that he has? We got to see it. Is Aaron Jones going to stay healthy?
Yeah.
We got to see it. Is this melding of a very ingenious defensive coordinator and this talent, is it really as good as it's looked through 3 games? Because it's looked unbelievable. And nobody, I would say, in Vikings land should be offended by the prove-it stage we're in, because if they hadn't started as brilliantly as they have, 3-0, dominant, frankly, in most of the 3 games, then there would be no need to have the prove it. If they were what I thought they were going to be at this point, 1-2,
right,
I wouldn't be saying, well, prove it, right? So this is progress. This is, I guess what I'm trying to say is this is the natural order of things. When a team comes out of nowhere a bit, people nationally are going to go, do I buy it or do I not buy it? And a lot of people nationally already do. But let's face it, we are going to have to see more, and this is a good opportunity. Road opponent. Find out maybe if they're actually behind in the game, can they handle that?
Right.
If some things don't go their way. So it's all good so far.
Yeah, I think there's fewer prove-it people after what they just did to the Texans, right? There was definitely prove-it people after the Niners bit because McCaffrey was out. It was the home opener for the Vikings. They were feeling good coming off the dominant victory over the Giants. After they no-doubted the Texans, I think a lot more people jumped on board. And this has a lot more interesting storylines than I ever thought it would, Dan. We always thought it was going to be the Lions and the Packers in the division. The Vikings are trying to earn their seat, as Tim Conley would say, the Wolves president of basketball operations, at the big boy table. And what's so fun about it to me is that this is so unexpected. No one in their right mind, even a month ago, thought that this would be possible. Not that they're 3-0. That was incredulous enough, I think. But the fact that they have been so dominant in these last 2 home games, to have the unexpected success, I think, is the most fun kind of season. When you have a season, at least at the start here, that comes seemingly out of nowhere, where you have a quarterback who's playing really well, you have a defense that's obviously playing fantastic, those are the ones that I think are just more fun to be around. 13-4 2 years ago was fun because it was unexpected. It was always dramatic. There were 1-score games. They were figuring it out. It obviously didn't end well, but that was just a fun ride. Well, this one feels like that in a way, mostly because this is not what I was expecting in a transition year to whatever they're going to be next year at quarterback.
It does and it doesn't, because that year it was all about just basically a series of last play of the game, second to last play of the game. They really weren't dominating
not like
near
this.
like they have, with the Giants, where they were pretty much in control after a very slow, hiccup early, and probably should have blown out the Niners other than the fumble, and utterly and completely toyed with a very good Houston Texans team. Sam Darnold, by the way, it's been written and it's got to be mentioned, he has started 3-0 before. It was in Carolina, not a great team, but I think they lost the next 4 in a row or 5 in a row. And the rest is history.
Well,
so I do want to see more. I want to see a little bit. Something's going to not go their way.
Right.
Let's see how they handle that. That's the next step. But the early signs are all very encouraging.
What do you do if you're a Packers fan with an Aaron Jones jersey? Can you still wear it?
Yeah, you can wear it.
Okay.
If you want.
I don't think Packer fans would, but I would not be offended if they did.
First of all, most Packer fans have like 12 jerseys.
Oh, right.
So they have a lot to choose from.
Okay.
They don't just isolate it to one player.
Next up, here's some more exciting news. The Lynx beat Phoenix Mercury again in Game 2, which means they head into the semifinals. They take on the Connecticut Sun this Sunday night. Again at home. Game 2 will be on Tuesday at home. Best of 5 series this time. Before it was best of 3. Dan?
Well, they finished the regular season the hottest team in the league. And they took care of business in the dangerous best of 3, where if you don't sweep the first 2 at home, you got to win the series on the road.
Yep.
They took care of that. They were a little, they had a huge lead in Game 1, and it got shaky late. I'm not going to lie. That was a game they could have lost. They made enough plays. This game, I felt again like they were kind of meandering actually, and putting themselves in a dangerous position. And then there was the flagrant foul that we just saw, I guess, on Bridget Carleton. And from that, at that point, it was basically an even game, and they dominated the rest of the way, became the kind of defensive team that they've been this whole season. So all of the signs are good, and Nafisa Collier is going to have her number in the rafters. I mean, I think we can already say that. She's an incredibly, come out of nowhere to become one of the best players in the league and a really good, a good basketball watch, as we say in the business.
I always go back to, with her, the fact that she was the 6th overall pick.
Right.
And people might, think that's crazy, or they might think, yeah, you keep going back to that because it's so rare. It's not rare, I shouldn't say that, but that's how you get a new dynasty going, is when you're not picking number 1 and it's Maya Moore, Simone Augustus, whoever it is. But when you're picking mid-first round and you grab someone who's the defensive player of the year and can go for 40. I mean, what a great luxury to have there, right? That's the kind of stuff we hope for.
She averaged 40 in the 2-game series.
Exactly. And that's what we always talk about, like a two-way player. Can Anthony Edwards be that kind of two-way player? Can he be a lockdown defender and get you 40? You see that they've got great role players like Carleton hitting that 3. That was the 3 that really, daggered them in Game 1 and really saved them in Game 1 because, as you mentioned, it was a meltdown. But to recreate it this quickly, and now you've got a heavyweight series, the team that knocked you out a year ago.
They got to play better, I think.
Probably.
In this next series. I really do. I think they need to play, and they can.
And they just had this team, a week or so ago that kind of clinched the number 2 seed. These 3 of the 4 teams that are in the semis have been in the top 3 all year long. There wasn't a lot of movement, right? The Lynx were kind of right there in the top 3 all year long. So I saw Lindsay Whalen tweet to Simone Augustus earlier this week. The names change, standards don't. What do we say? Play Lynx basketball. That's what they're doing right now, and it's certainly fun to watch.
We had Whalen on the show, on the radio yesterday, and she said, look, they're doing it a different way. They're doing it the old 5-out way, where really everybody can play outside in this offense. They're the best three-point shooting team in the league, and they're the best three-point shooting defensive team when they're doing it right. So it's the Lynx way, but it's a different version of what the Lynx were in the Whalen year.
If you don't follow Whalen on social media, you should, because
for sure.
she.
Did you ever get that brunch with her?
No, I think she canceled on me. Something came up.
That's too
that
bad.
subject
We
came
even
up
picked
yesterday.
a place. It was going to be an Eden
She plays
Prairie.
too much golf and tennis now to brunch with you. She's got a busy
Maybe I need
schedule.
to bug her again.
I wouldn't.
No.
Leave her alone?
I'd leave her alone.
Okay,
Let her
well,
come to you.
If you can believe it, there is still a chance the Twins could get that wild card spot. They'd have to win all 3 games this weekend against the Orioles, and another team has to lose all 3 games. The Twins are at home this weekend, and you can watch Saturday night's game right here on Fox 9. Justin.
I give you credit, Lori. I give you credit for selling the hope. I'm not
Why
even.
not? You know what?
I'm
You're
not
home
even sure.
This weekend, one final weekend of baseball.
No, I just say move on to football and Lynx. That's what I would say. But I'm not even sure the team believes you at this point. I know the team doesn't believe you. If you watch how the game ended on Thursday night with a miraculously dumb, unexecuted bunt that somehow turned into a double play that had poor Corey Provis just going full Paul Allen. This is not Detroit. This is the Super Bowl, basically. And I don't know who was in the booth with him. I think it was Morneau.
It was.
Basically just muttering to himself. They're obviously sick of it, too. How could you blame him? And then watching how Carlos Correa ended the game as well, too, just kind of meandering to first base. If he actually would have run it out, might have gotten safe. Would it have mattered? Who cares? You can tell it's a defeated club. You can tell they know how this is going to go. You can tell they're not buying into everything that Lori just said. And we said it last week. Sadly, the organization is getting what it deserves. The players obviously have to take some responsibility for it. They had injuries. They had guys that didn't perform. But the organization, I think, with the approach going all the way back into the offseason, unfortunately for the players, the manager, who obviously is not perfect either, but I don't put a lot of this on him, the organization's getting exactly what it deserves here.
The Twins wanted to quit in the last game of that series, and basically the Marlins are so putrid.
Refused it?
They wouldn't let them until eventually they did. The stat I saw is the Twins are the first team in baseball history ever to lose to a team that struck out 20-plus times, left 15-plus runners on base, blew a 4-plus run lead, committed multiple errors, and failed to hit a home run. They lost to the team that did that. That's never happened, apparently, in the history of baseball. So
wow.
It's a fitting end. They need to be put out of their misery.
Yeah.
It's over. I don't even care if they somehow win all three and either the Tigers or Royals lose all three. They don't deserve to be in. They need to be put to sleep. They need to figure something out in this offseason, like maybe new owners. I know that's probably a bit too much to ask.
Yeah, I wouldn't sell a team if I didn't have to. You make a lot of money, especially when you don't pay anybody.
Well, that's it. But that's when you make the money. So make your money, because I know you're a couple of $1 billion short, Bolads.
Back to Enough Said. The first and only vice presidential debate will take place this Tuesday night. Governor Tim Walz and Republican Senator J.D. Vance of Ohio meet in New York City. What do you think they need to do to impress swing voters? Impress and sway.
I'm not convinced that VP debates, even in this goofy year, will do all of that much. In the end, I think for that night, the people who live this lifestyle will get into it. But I'm not sure it's going to end up having all that much impact. I think another presidential debate, which is what I think Trump needs, especially if it were to come shortly before the election, is more important. I do sense, though, that I believe this debate's going to be more vicious and meaner. I mean, basically, Harris kind of went with the smiling assassin approach. I think Walzy is going to go pit bull. He seems to be relishing this role, and a lot of times VP candidates, they feel, liberated they can do that. And I don't think Vance is going to back off either. I think he's capable of saying anything. I think there's going to be some dog-eating jokes and cat-eating jokes and all that sort of thing. So I expect this to be more like WWF, a lot more vicious and a lot more shall we say, controversy.
Which is what, to answer Lori's question about swing voters,
right.
I don't think it will, because I think both of them are going to play to the extremes. I agree with you totally. I think the craziest stuff that we've heard for the last 6, 8, 12 weeks, whatever it is, I think that is going to be emphasized. The vice presidential debate is something to watch. The wonks love it. You really just want to hold serve if you're the VP candidate, right? You don't want to do anything to screw it up and end up on Saturday Night Live that can potentially hurt your candidate's chances. I think about, because I thought, going back 4 years, I thought Mike Pence was masterful debating for President Trump. Did that matter at the end of it? I thought Harris was fine. But Pence, I thought, went out and did his job. At the end of the day, did it really matter? And you saw what Mike Pence got for it on January 6th. So I'm with you. I'll watch it. I'm interested in it. I'm interested just for our guy. And when I say our guy, I'm just talking about one Minnesota, to see how he meets this moment, because I think he met the moment on the first stump speech. I think he met the moment at the convention. I think he's played his role very, very well for Kamala Harris. So he's got another opportunity to do that. And I agree, he does, I think, love the fact that he is the vice presidential candidate.
Enough said.
And likes to be the one to twist the knife in a little bit more.
I will add, I think Vance has been a drag on the ticket. I really do.
I just don't think he's added much.
It would be a difference. But I don't know if Walz is helping, but I definitely am convinced he's not hurting. That's, I think, the distinction I would make to this point between the two.
And I literally just got an email.
Oh.
There's no audience.
Okay.
They get 2 minutes for closing statements, and Vance won the coin toss, and he chose to go last.
Well, that would make sense.
So there you go.
Last. You get the last.
A bottle of water.
Yeah.
It says one bottle of water.
One bottle.
One bottle. That's it.
Wow.
A bottle of water and a pen and a pad of paper, because they can't have notes.
How many questions do they directly answer? I mean, that should be, speaking of drinking things.
It didn't say.
There should be some type of drinking game. How many questions do they actually answer? Yeah, the percentages.
How many times can they say border battle?
They
could. Yeah. They'll say border. We know that.
Next up, retired quarterback Brett Favre announced he's been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. He told a congressional committee as he spoke about welfare misspending in Mississippi. Remember, he was paid by the state more than $1 million in funds for speaking events he actually didn't do. And then former Viking Tommy Kramer revealed one day later that he was recently diagnosed with dementia and decided to go public after Favre's announcement. Dan?
Well, this is obviously all very sad stuff, and we've spent a lot of time on the radio over the last few years. We spent it not that long ago on Tua, right?
Yep.
Because that brings it to today. There isn't always an assumption that if it happens to a football player, then it's the football that's done it, and in many cases it has. But I was reminded again as recently as yesterday, there are a lot of people who suffer these issues who've never played football. So we have to be careful about what the evidence suggests. We know it's a dangerous game, right? I tend to agree with the Tommy Kramer philosophy as he let loose on it via Twitter, which was, don't feel sorry for me. I've made my choices. I did what I wanted to do. And people get mad when I say this, but the notion of, is it better to live a long life or better to enjoy the hell out of the life you led as long as you lead it? I'm not here to say what should govern other people's opinions on that in their own lives, and that makes people mad. It's like, well, that's ridiculous. You say that now, but what's going to happen to you later? What about your family? I just don't think it's my business to make these decisions for other people.
You mentioned it. We said it about Tua, 2-3 weeks ago? And when this stuff comes up, I always go back to a conversation you had with Matt Burke on the radio, probably a decade plus, because he was still in the NFL. Yeah, it's been a minute. But we all agree Matt's a pretty smart guy, right? And you don't just have to ask him. He's a smart guy. He went to Harvard. He's pretty well thought out. And it was about CTE back then.
Right.
And he, I think, has already committed his brain to the Boston University study when it's done, because we were just learning about CTE, about a decade ago, probably somewhere in that ballpark. And he went on and on about the risks, and we all understand them, and we're going with these things. And I'll never forget what he said to you, Dan. He said, but I got to be honest, it's just fun. I just like to play. I love everything about it. I love being in the locker room. I love being on the field. And I heard Sean Salisbury with you on Thursday say basically the same thing. You ask players after they're done, would you go back and do it?
30.
It's almost unanimously yes, right? And so I'm with you. I'm not going to lecture anybody on what they want to do with their life. They have to live with the family ramifications, right? That has to be something they deal with the family. But I'm guessing a lot of the family members are the same way because of the experiences they all get, because they get their person, in this case their fathers, at their best doing something that they love. I think a lot of them would sign up for it again.
Even if you say it's a lot to lose, we're fools on this, because we celebrate what? People in the arena,
yes.
Quarterbacks meeting the moment in the arena, 80,000 people losing their minds, and then we're surprised that it might be tough for some of them to look at this rationally and say,
right.
God, I don't know what I might be losing down the road. I think we're as much hypocritical on this as anybody.
And some players do.
Yes,
some players do decide it's not worth it. And they go on to do something else, and that's great for them.
Next up, the Gophers play Michigan Saturday morning. They lost to the Iowa Hawkeyes and Floyd of Rosedale last weekend, 31-14.
You're being kind, Lori.
It was a tale of two halves that, Justin, you guys talked about on the PJ Flex show. What changed in the second half? Flex said he failed to get the most of his players in 60 minutes, and that's on him, Justin.
Well, yeah, the first part there, it was obvious that they didn't get the best out in the second half. To answer the question, what changed? Everything from the first half, because I've said this, I walked up the tunnel at halftime thinking not that they were going to blow Iowa out, that's naive, but they had figured out a formula to make it a game and obviously and win the game, because they were playing great in that second quarter. And for a second time this season, an opponent came out in Huntington Bank Stadium in the third quarter and completely flipped the script in the first drive of the second half, and they could never recover. And it's not going to get any easier against a Michigan team tomorrow that wants to run the ball a lot. The run defense was leaky against North Carolina. It was absolutely gashed against Iowa. And I get why people are frustrated that something can change that dramatically, and there was no off switch. Once the Hawkeyes took control of that game, they never gave it back. And that's something that they've got to figure out here. Might not be in the next few weeks because of the opponents, but they got to play better. Straight up, they got to play better if they want to continue this season and look for a bowl game and all the things that come with that.
I'm worried about your program right now. I will say, the stat I looked up, the last 4 regular season games, the Gophers have been outscored 74-6 in the second half. And that tells us something is going on here. Whether you want to do the cliched halftime adjustments or better teams just figuring things out, whatever it is, they're having great difficulty finishing games against, I'm talking about, legitimate opponents, not the 2 easy teams that they played this year. And the irony, as you say, is they were not only productive in that second quarter against Iowa, they were aggressive offensively. all the things that we've been asking them to do, and it couldn't have been a more stark contrast. They literally, either they stopped playing in the second half, or Iowa got really smart at the half with their chess pieces, moved them around, and your guy and the assistant coaches didn't know what to do about it, or the players didn't execute whatever the Gophers' answers were supposed to be.
I think it was all of it. I think everything you just said. It was Iowa being better, and it was the Gophers. I don't know if they thought, Iowa's going to roll over here because of the second quarter we just had, but it's something they got to fix, no question.
Coming up next, the lightning round, including Justin, makes his big debut on Good Day. In the lightning round, a new study found that genetics have a big impact on if you or your child is a picky eater. According to researchers in London, genetics account for about 3/4 of food fussiness. I guess repeated exposure can help. I'm wondering, are you two picky eaters, and what would that food be? Dan?
Yeah.
Broccoli?
Just basically comfort food. I'm a picky eater. I don't eat vegetables at all. I'm not proud of it, but now I don't think it's my fault. I think it's genetics.
That's quite an alibi. Yeah, make sure this study let's make sure this study doesn't get taught in schools.
Exactly.
Let's not give this to the kids.
My daughter hears this.
I know.
Over.
We don't need this. I'm the opposite. I don't like fruit. I'll eat any vegetable.
Really?
I can eat vegetables. I love vegetables. Fruit is the thing
You don't like a good plum or a good...
No, I can't do that. And
Okay.
Lori, yes, you can let us know.
Strawberries?
I'm not picky about anything. I will eat, try anything.
Are you gluten-free?
Yeah, I was going to say,
I'm not sure.
Except wheat.
Oh, okay.
Except wheat, okay,
And
because
fruit
you're
toast.
gluten-free.
I
Got it.
have to
I
stay
heard.
away from candy because it makes my tummy hurt.
Your tummy. Okay, do you need to go to the nurse's office? I mean,
that
how old
mean?
are we? What are we talking about?
My tummy hurts.
Halloween is a little more than a month away.
Oh my God.
Top candy picks according to DoorDash. I don't know. I feel like that's kind of weird. Reese's Peanut Butter Cups followed by Gushers, like Gushers.
That's terrible.
I
and
don't even know what
Twix.
Gushers are.
They're like fruit snacks. They're
Yeah, I
horrific.
don't know who
Those are
gives
the
away
worst.
Gushers.
Yeah, terrible. I mean, the
Why
Reese's.
are we Halloween's like a month off. What are you doing?
The stuff's already up in neighborhoods,
that's
not
true.
even in the stores.
Well, Christmas decorations are up at
Yes.
Costco
You know,
already.
Justin, your guy Paul Rovnek with the Gophers tweeted at me today that a pitcher, he's already bought all his candy and he gives out full size.
Well, it must be nice to live on that associate athletic director
Fancy.
salary. That Big Ten Network money's coming in handy.
No wonder there's no NIL money.
No kidding. Yeah, can the sideline guy get
Sorry,
a little
Paul.
kick? Unbelievable.
First it was Dan, and now today it was Justin's turn. His dreams came true and got to host Good Day with Kelly and Leah
Look how
today.
comfortable I look.
You do, and I just have to tell you, you did a fantastic job. I mean, Dan, you did too, but
No,
Justin today,
No, go
was
ahead.
more
Go
fresh.
ahead. Go ahead. This is your subtle way of trying to motivate me. That's fine. I can live with it.
Lori, you've mastered TV insincerity and telling everybody that I did a great job. It was fun,
No,
though. It was great. We had a blast. After the dance-off meltdown, I think we rallied from
problem,
that.
yeah.
We
I thought
moved
we
on
don't
from
talk
that.
about the dance
We
off.
kept our oar in the water after that whole thing. But yeah, well, you work with two pros. It was pretty
Well,
easy to
we're
just
going to
sit there.
invite
And,
both of you back sometime if you're willing
You'll
to do
never,
it.
but I don't think you'll ever have the guts to have us both on.
No, I think that would be great. Well, remember, you can catch all the episodes of Enough Said on our smart TV app, and it's also on your phone now called Fox Local. It's free, and you can catch up on everything.
Fox Local, you say?
Yes, and it's super easy to use, and again, it is free.
I think there's still some food from Good Day. I might
Why
snack
doesn't
on
it
that.
say Emmy nominated Enough Said show?
We don't talk about dance-offs or Emmys
Those were
anymore
the
on this
days.
show.
Those were the days.
I understand.